Joining me now from Buffalo is Congressman Collins' Democratic challenger, Nate McMurray. He's going to be discussing the race further. Welcome, man of the hour.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So seriously, you're probably the most popular person. Within a 24-hour period, you went from very low recognition to national, well, I wouldn't say national prominence, but definitely people know who you are. You did tell reporters yesterday that you had had a banner fundraising day because of what had happened with Mr. Collins. Is that continuing?
It is. I don't know the exact number, but we've had tens of thousands of dollars roll in. So it's been an exciting time. I haven't slept much in the last 24 hours. So we are going forward.
Yeah, I mean, tens of thousands of dollars is significant. You had about 80,000 to his 1.3 million. Now, the caveat here is that he might need to tap that to get his legal representation paid for, so he's got bigger problems now to deal with. But still, I mean, you really need to raise a significant amount of money to catch up. Not to say anything about the fact that you can't do a thing regarding the Republican enrollment edge that the GOP enjoys.
Even with all of this nonsense going on, this is still going to be a huge fight for us. We have to raise a ton of money. We have to get a lot of people out there on the ground. The good news for Mr. Collins is that a lot of people don't know who he is. I knock doors, and out of every 100 doors, you get one or two people who really know who he is.
They probably know who he is now.
I think they do. I think they do. I think they know him now more than ever, which is good news for us.
Yeah. So have you spoken to the National Democrats down in D.C.? My understanding is that they put out a statement saying that they believe that this district is, quote, in play. Are they sending you assistance?
They are. We've had a discussion this morning and also last night. It's been a long time coming. We've done everything in our power to get them interested in the race. I tried to tell them, do you see the energy we see out here? Do you see the people coming to these rallies? We have hundreds of people coming to these small towns. But still, they had some algorithm telling them that this is not the place to go. But suddenly they're very interested, and we're getting a lot of interest from organized labor. It seems that everything's coming together for the right time for us.
Yeah, I mean, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, look, there are realities, I mean, they've got numbers and they've got a finite amount of resources. Certainly they've got a lot of money, but they want to flip the House then into Democratic hands in the midterms, and they've got to look around at all the races, not just in New York, but across the nation, and determine who's most viable. But to require your opponent to be indicted on insider trading charges in order to become viable is sort of a sad testament to how decisions are made.
It is, especially this isn't the first thing that he's done. I mean, this is it's a continuing story of bad behavior by Mr. Collins. And everyone knew about this behavior. This is not something that we just found out yesterday when the indictment came out. I mean, there was a public record that was very deep and established that he was using his position to enrich himself and his family, and that he was taking shortcuts, and that he was cheating. But no one seemed to care. I felt like Paul Revere, but everyone was sleeping. I was going town to town yelling, but no one on the national level seemed to care. Now they care. There is interest in this race, and I can tell you that it's going to become more of a priority. It's my duty to keep doing what I've been doing, which is go to small towns, go meet with people, go to diners, go to fairs. We felt that one-on-one energy, but without that grander firepower, without that money, we're not going to be able to compete. And I think we have hope now that it's going to come and help us out.
So you did say yesterday that you weren't going to sort of celebrate another person's pain. I mean, certainly you think what you will of Mr. Collins. Of course, he is your opponent, and so it's your duty to sort of point out the negative aspects of his record as you see them. But this is involving his son's fiance's family. This is a man who's now in a serious bind. Are you going to capitalize on that? I mean, do you expect that you would make it the focus of ads? I mean, you had already spoken a little bit. He was, as you mentioned, under investigation already by the House Ethics Committee, and you had noted that he was misusing his position and regarding this Australian company and other things. And certainly you're not the first. I mean, the late former Congresswoman Louise Slaughter also was taking him to task. But how far are you willing to go?
Well, we have to make it clear that this is reality, that he cheated.
Well, he's not been found guilty yet. He's only been indicted.
He's been indicted, but we also have ethical findings saying that there's a strong likelihood that he broke House rules and possibly criminal laws, and we see that coming to fruition now. Beyond that, I met Mr. Collins recently because I was trying to get him to debate me because he hasn't had a debate in years and years.
Yes, you found him at a parade, if I remember correctly.
I saw him at a fair, and he saw me, and he split. Yeah. He split, and I had to chase him down. But when I looked him in the eyes, he's a human being. He's not a monster. And if you're a human being as well, you don't wish misfortune on somebody. But at the same time, we live in a country that has laws and justice has to be served. We have to have fairness. So I will point out the fact that he has done these things. We have to point it out. We also have to point out that people, just until 2 or 3 days ago, were pretending none of it happened, taking selfies with him, endorsing him. It speaks to a broken system, frankly. We have a system in America where we have these two sides. One side can do nothing right, the other side can do nothing wrong if you're on that side. We need to get back to a system where we're fighting for all Americans.
Okay, so you bring up an interesting point because you're speaking a little bit about extremes. And right now, we are seeing that the extremes on both sides of either party are getting the most attention because they're speaking the loudest, effectively.
Right.
And after the House primaries in June, in New York, we saw an upset down in Queens. And a lot of people talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her upset of this veteran Congressman Joe Crowley. She has espoused democratic socialism, healthcare for all, free higher education, abolishing ICE. I mean, where do you stand on those positions, and are you not nervous about the leftward lean that the party is taking, particularly in a district like yours? I mean, it's still the most Republican district in this state.
Well, I think she's a powerful voice and a charismatic leader, and I think that type of energy is good for America in general. Do I agree with her in every single point? I do not, but I'm thankful that those type of leaders are coming forward, new voices, and our party and the entire system needs a lot of new voices. I think that if you look at the country, where the country is now, there's too much labeling, there's too much saying this person is that or this. I'm a person who's for practical solutions, and if you look at it, not that long ago, a couple months ago, when I was running in the Democratic primary here, I was labeled as some extreme corporate lawyer. Well, now suddenly I'm Che Guevara. I mean, it depends who's looking at you, what they want to say, what story they want to spin.
Right.
The reality is I'm a guy from a working class background, one of 7, raised by my mom. My father passed away. I started off at community college, worked my way up, still cut my own grass. And I'm that guy. I'm the supervisor of one of the most conservative towns in Western New York with a balanced budget and a AAA rating. I was an Eagle Scout. Now, does this sound like an extremist to you? But for the last 24 hours, all I ever heard is McMurray's an extremist, McMurray's an extremist.
Well, let me ask you this. It's interesting. I mean, there is a slim possibility, though the congressman does say he intends to run in November, that Republicans will pressure him to get out. Do you think he should remain on the ballot? I mean, I know, of course, better the dog you know, and of course this dog is in this instance wounded. And also, do you think he should resign? Because some people are saying that, I believe including Governor Cuomo.
I don't think he's fit for office. I think he needs to do the right thing. I said that yesterday. I was repulsed by his press conference. I thought it was disgenuine. I thought he was trying to celebrate the fact that he was defending his family. Again, if it was a test in school, he was giving his family the answers. He was cheating. I thought the whole thing was wrong. But I can't make the decisions like that. I can just say we're going forward and we're going to win. And we're going to win because when no one else was saying Chris Collins needs to go, we were saying that. When these people who are now hand-wringing, they were defending Chris Collins just a couple days ago. So we have been on the right side of things. We go by issue, and if you look at my platform, look at what I represent, and look who I am. I'm a person that is from the people of Western New York. I am one of these people. This is my family. This is my home, and I'm going to fight like them. Back to Louise Slaughter. Can I just talk about her for 1 second?
If you would, sure.
Yeah. When I went to see the Democratic Party headquarters, when I was thinking about running, there was not a lot of excitement. They basically told me, you're doing good on the local level, you have a future in politics, why waste your political capital on this race? And I told them, because we have a terrible person that's our representative, we need to get him out of Western New York. Finally, I met with Louise Slaughter. She had a completely different story. And it was just me, her aide, and herself. And I said to her, what is your advice? And she looked me in the eyes and she said very strongly, you need to fight like hell. This guy has done something terrible, he's abused his position, and no one's taking it seriously. And that's kind of become our motto. And she showed me a lot of grace and honesty and caring, and she gave me a lot of encouragement. And we have taken that energy throughout the entire campaign, and I'm very grateful to her. Even though I didn't know her personally, I saw her for that brief moment, and I know what type of person she is.
Well, this race now is at the top of the radar screen. A number of rating entities like the Cook Political Report have changed their outlook on this particular race, making it more competitive, though not a sure thing for Democrats. So we will be watching it closely, and thank you so much for making time for us. I know that you are quite busy and under great demand in these 24 to 48 hours.
I'm a fan of the show. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks.